All right, welcome back to another episode of After Further Review, brought to you by our boys at Going for Two. Got Kaylin with me as always. Looks like you got a weird tattoo there, but it was just your sleeve.
Yeah, one day maybe it'll be a sleeve, right? Who knows? A sleeve on a sleeve.
Like, I didn't know you got a sleeve in those 2 weeks we were off. But yeah, glad to be back. Took a couple weeks off, but we got lots of juicy stuff to talk about because of that.
Mm-hmm.
I've been living in Silent Hill over here. I am in Calgary. We had the worst air quality in the world a couple days ago, apparently, according to the Weather Network. So,
well, hey, listen, that picture that you sent me was very eerie looking, man. I couldn't imagine just looking out my window or looking at a downtown apartment window in Calgary and thinking that that's my air quality, that's the smoke that I'm seeing every day that I'm breathing in, right? And then the orange sky at nighttime, too. It's just pretty incredible.
Oh, man, when I woke up, like, honestly, when I woke up the other morning, I woke up the other morning and I thought there was literally a campfire in my bedroom. Like it smelled like burning wood in my room.
Wow.
And it was like you said, when I went to work in the morning, the sun was like orangish, like yellow tinge, and it's like it was crazy, man. Like seeing the windows at work, like it looked like, you shouldn't be going outside. Like it looked like, like an apocalypse type of deal. So,
well, there was that old movie, Fire in the Sky, alien movie. That's all the rage right now is aliens, right? So maybe, who knows?
Well, and like I said, that's why I said Silent Hill, because it was like, with the ashes falling. When I first moved here 5 years ago, the fires lasted so long, there was actually ashes falling from the sky. Like, that's
crazy. Raining ashes like in Volcano. What was that movie with the guy that played Pierce Brosnan? Was that who's?
Oh, yeah. Tommy Lee Jones with Volcano. Yeah, for sure. It was just like that. So good news is that within a couple of days, it's supposed to move out. Mm-hmm. I guess like the winds, were so strong that it blew everything in. So good news is, yes, we'll be breathing better in a couple of days. But on to the sports world here. We have obviously the NHL Conference Finals going on right now, starting tonight, actually. This is probably the most uninteresting conference finals that I've seen in my life. So we're going to do our best to make it interesting, I suppose. But I know you're still hurting. Devils, gave it a good go. But
if I'm going to lose to a team in the playoffs, it's the team that was the best 5-on-5 team throughout this regular season. Like, I know that, listen, Boston got a lot of hype. They set some records this year. They did a lot of cool stuff. If Boston didn't do what they did this year, or they were only a few points back from what they did, maybe 10 points, Carolina would have been the story. This team from beginning of the year to the end of the year, as I mentioned before, the best 5-on-5 squad in the NHL. And when you can win 5-on-5, you don't have to rely on your special teams to get you out of games. And then when your special teams decides to actually show up, the last 3 weeks of the season, the regular season, their power play was absolutely horrendous. It suddenly found its wings against our team, against my team, unfortunately. But I'm not upset about losing to Carolina. We're still on the up. This is a team. My team wasn't even supposed to be there, so I'm okay.
No, exactly. I was just going to say, you guys weren't supposed to be in the second round of the playoffs this year anyway. So, Carolina's been knocking at the door for a lot of years now. You expect them to get through to where they got to. Like, I expect them, well, the way Florida's playing, it's really hard to say you expect them to lose at all. But I do expect Carolina to go, like Frederik Andersen. This is a guy where, he does get hurt a lot, but when he is healthy, he's a really good goalie. And, he's 5-0 since he's come back into the playoffs.
And how fortunate for them in that series against the Devils. They didn't even
just a tie for you.
Yeah, came back and didn't and Ranta, or whatever you say his last name, the guy had a mysterious illness. Like the entire series, he wasn't available. So like it didn't matter because Frederik Andersen stood on his head for the entire series. So fantastic for him. But it was just really weird that I had this mysterious illness that suddenly popped up in the end of round 1, beginning of round 2, that took him out of the entire series. But apparently he's going to be okay now. He's going to be available if they need him, right?
Well, and he's just come in and had a 1.8 goals against average and went 5-0 since he's come in.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about Freddie. Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Freddie the guy that hasn't played in like 3 months. And he just comes in out of nowhere and plays against, your team, the Devils, who were playing at a very high level. And a team shuts the door.
A team, well, I do have to come back. The Devils and the Leafs were the only team this year to not get shut out in the regular season. The Devils actually extended that and were not shut out for the entire playoffs that they were in, so 96 straight games. But that being said, I did want to come back, lean on that, is the fact that the Devils were a high offensive powerhouse the entire season. They were averaging 3 or 4 goals a game throughout the entire season, and then they just hit a wall in Frederik Andersen. It's not much different than what the Leafs unfortunately ran into with Florida. It's a goalie that's hot.
I was just wondering, who did Frederik Andersen used to play for?
The Maple Leafs, and he got chased out of Toronto. Let's remember that too. There wasn't very many. Yeah, there wasn't very many fans that wanted him to stick around. You know, it's really crazy how often people like these players get chased out. I don't know if I talked about it on this show with you. Well, but like Dion Phaneuf, like I have often said, going back to when his last year in Toronto, he was the only guy still trying on the ice, and then he got chased out of Toronto, and he wasn't that bad once he left Toronto. He wasn't the player that he was when he first got to Toronto. We all knew that.
He wasn't expected to be.
That's right.
They're putting Toronto sets guys up to fail all the time. That's what they do.
Yeah.
You know, but Frederik Andersen, you know, he should have never left Toronto. You know, what'd you do? You turn around and gave the money you would have given to Frederik Andersen to fucking Jack Campbell.
Yeah.
And then how did that work out?
He's gone now too, right?
Yeah. You gave the money. You literally gave the money that you would have paid Frederik Andersen with to Jack Campbell.
Yeah.
And you know, Frederik Andersen was nothing but solid for these guys. Yeah, he let in a couple bad goals, but not really. Like, for the most part, he was solid. And I think that Frederik Andersen with this team this year could have been different. You know, he gives you such a calmness in net, right? Like, he's such a big guy, good positioning, doesn't give up a lot of rebounds, you know, doesn't get phased. You know, it's just what a guy that would have been nice to have for Toronto. But, you know, at the same time, what I will say in Toronto's as well is that, you know, you brought in Matt Murray because of his playoff success. Samsonov goes down, and instead of going to him, you go to Joseph Woll. Now, I know Joseph Woll played well.
Who also, I don't know if you saw, but the Marlies got knocked out of the playoffs last night too. Joseph Woll got eliminated from the playoffs in back-to-back weeks. I don't know how that's ever been done before, but that's a tough a couple of weeks for the young goaltender. Okay.
It is, but why not give Murray a try? That's what you brought him in for. Yeah. You brought him in for his playoff success, and you know, for people to say, "Oh, you can't bring him in because you hadn't played." Well, either hit Frederik Andersen, and look at how good he fucking played.
Yeah.
If you're a good goalie, you know how to play hockey. You don't just forget how to play because you haven't played in a couple months. Yeah, it'd be nice to get some warm up games in there, but I would have liked to see them try Matt Murray. That's why you brought him there, was to play in the playoffs. The opportunity opened up for that, and you still didn't go with it. So. Bit weird on that side of things, but on the other side of the other goalie facing Andersen, you know, we got Bobrovsky. Bob is back. You know,
for now, anyway. I mean, I'm often going to keep saying this. It's only been about 3.5 weeks or 4 weeks that we've been saying that Bob is back, and everybody keeps saying for now. Like, I mean, at this point, a goalie's hot.
Well, 7-2 with a 280 GA, and you know, and stole some games against the Leafs.
Yeah,
you know, like I remember that one game when the Leafs were down 3-2. And they literally threw everything but the kitchen sink at him, and they just couldn't beat him. And whether that goal was a goal or not, it doesn't fucking matter. So everybody can just relax, because when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter. You tied it up anyways. You had a chance to win in overtime. You had lots of opportunities in that first 10 minutes of overtime to win. You didn't bury it. So you can't go back and say, oh, the puck went in. If you hadn't tied it up, then yeah, maybe you could say that. But it's kind of like back in football, back in, you know, the New Orleans a few years ago, when everybody's mad because that pass interference didn't get called on Jalen Ramsey, and everyone's like, well, they should have went to the Super Bowl because that ball, you lost in overtime and you got the ball first. So you can't say a call made you lose the game when you still had an opportunity to win the game after that call. That's the way I look at that situation, right? So the Leafs, you know, it was really shitty to see them go out like that, but Florida is just playing really good hockey right now. Got good goaltending. Well, Tkachuk didn't even score last series.
I think the last time that we actually talked, Rick, I think I pumped the tires of the Florida Panthers a little bit and said this team has been clicking and playing playoff hockey for 4 weeks.
I did. I thought they could beat Boston too. I didn't think they actually would, but I thought there was a chance they could play with them.
I certainly thought it was there. I remember specifically saying they're going to grind this series out. They're going to win some games, and I do think that they can win. Again, this team has been playing for a month before the playoffs even started. They were playing playoff hockey because they had to win to get in. Then they get into the playoffs. They take out a very good team in Boston, right? Who seems
just one of the best teams ever.
And they were not only just took them out, they grinded them. Boston is a team that is going to grind back on a lot of other teams. That they're not going to overscore you or out showboat you. They're just going to win smart hockey. And unfortunately for them, Florida played smarter hockey with some checks in there. I mean, this is something we don't see throughout the regular season. There's a lot of physical play. We're certainly seeing it this playoffs. I know the Hudson River rivalry had some good hits. Of course, the Chiruba one on Timo Meier, but we're seeing Tkachuk is throwing his body around.
Tkachuk had a monster series against Boston too.
Yeah,
absolute monster series, and that's what's more impressive. Both their win against Toronto was that he didn't even score.
Yeah, but that you're right, and that is something that when they bring it to Carolina, they're going to need him to score. They're not going to win this series.
But it's a good thing he didn't then, and he's obviously due now. But other guys,
but that at the same time, what I want to do at the same time, does that not just show? Before we hop too far away from Toronto here, does that not show the disparity?
We're coming back to Toronto. Don't worry.
But doesn't it show the disparity between Carolina and Toronto when I'm saying that, or we can also look at the series that just happened and that Tkachuk didn't even score in, and we're saying, okay, that's fine, but he's going to have to score against Carolina in order for this team to win the series. This is, and then you have to sit back and say, well, then what the hell is Toronto even trying for? Like, not trying for, but what else do they have to do? Because I'm looking at Carolina as the team that everybody will build like next season. I don't care what Boston did this year. Carolina will be the team that everybody idolizes and tries to build after, right? That's exactly what it's going to be.
You can't just build that overnight. Carolina's been building this for like 10 years. So,
well, hey, listen, they're doing this without three guys that have been injured as well.
Carolina comes back.
Yeah, but the people that they've replaced have been people that they inserted into their system. They weren't guys that have been there for a long time. They certainly brought some players over through the trade deadline, through free agency as well. They've been able to make it work. Rod Brind'Amour's a fantastic coach.
Brent Burns has been their biggest acquisition.
And you know, I'm glad that you bring him up, Rick, because if we talk to our parents, I think that they would probably collectively say that the best defenseman they've got to see in their time was Bobby Orr, right? That's what they're all going to say. I may be going out on a limb here when I say this, but I think that when all is said and done, when we look back on Brent Burns' career, that this man may be the best or the second best defenseman of our generation that we got to see. This is a guy that played forward, got thrown into the defenseman. Played defense. What?
What's our generation, though? Because we got guys before him that were right up there as well, with like Nick Lindstrom's and Paul Coffey's and stuff like that.
So, hey, listen, I think Paul Coffey's a fantastic defenseman, obviously. I think that Nicholas Lindstrom is the epitome of defenseman. I think that Brent Burns at career's end is going to, in my opinion, will be better than Lindstrom. Not because he's got the trophies. Lindstrom's going to have the trophies. I'm just going to have of the opinion that this is a player that Lindstrom, if Brent Burns needs to go up and play forward or needs to pinch inside the zone, I don't have to worry about him getting back to play forecheck or to get back in the forecheck or the back check.
Well, he did the last couple of years. He didn't look very good the last couple of years. He was extremely rejuvenated this year.
Well, yeah, I do. Yes, last year, actually, not last year, 2 years ago specifically, was a really bad year for him. But I think that Carolina,
he looked like he was on the downside. That's all I'm saying. It was very impressive to see him go here and for them to use him properly. But it's just such a family over there. They're like the New England Patriots in a sense. They, like you said, they find guys that fill roles, and even when they lose big time guys like Pacioretty and Teravainen and Shevchenko and not Shevchenko, Shmeshnikov and stuff like that, they find people to replace them with. And even a guy like Paul Stastny, where I didn't even realize he was playing for them until like the playoffs almost, because he was just so under the radar. But this is a guy that's been a role for so many teams where they're like, oh, he'll fit perfectly in here. And Rod Brind'Amour is a great coach.
Yeah. And he's actually like a tamer version of Tortorella, right? Like he's going to yell at players and he's going to get inside the players' heads and he's going to give it back to the media.
But he's a player's coach.
But he's a player's coach. And just as we talked about with New England, this guy knows how to find players that fit the system and can talk them into playing the role, right? Don't go outside of your role, because if you don't, we're all going to be built proper to win, right?
Well, and that's why I think it's really intriguing with these two teams, because they're built very similar, right? Like these are two teams that have had 3 or 4 goaltenders play for them this year, and it doesn't seem to matter who's playing net. They've won. Florida just got in at the end, but Florida got in with Alex Lyon. They've had Spencer Knight play for them. They've had Bobrovsky, and it just, when you have a good system and you have a good coach, which Paul Maurice is pretty much like, it's no coincidence he coached, Carolina as well when they were really good. And, anywhere this guy goes, there's a calmness and their teams are good. So we have a matchup of 2 of the best coaches in the NHL as far as I'm concerned. And no coincidence that Paul Maurice is coach for both organizations, but it should be a really tight series.
Yeah. I do think so.
I expect that. So, we'll jump over to the West, though.
Well, hey, while you're doing that, I mean, you just talked about really good coaches and where they go, they win. You're jumping over to the West. You definitely got to start with DeBoer then, right?
Oh, of course.
Guy, he just goes to every conference championship with a team that he carries. Like, what's going on here? I know that at some point, NBA, with all this coaching searching that's happening right now.
Win, though.
Yeah, you got to win this. Right. But I know. But what I was going to say is that when we get to the big leagues here, there's a lot of people that are going to be of the mindset that the coach can only do so much. That there's a limitation of what the coach can actually put on the ice and get out of the players.
Position, but you got to still execute.
That's right. Now, but you got to look back at some of the teams that DeBoer has got there. He got a fast but feisty half washed up defensive core in Nashville, right? And then he's doing it here with a bunch of feisty veterans over in Vegas. New Jersey, he took New Jersey to the conference finals back in 2014, or the Stanley Cup against the Kings. The guy just takes a variety of people.
I don't think he was Nashville, but
was he on Nashville?
No, but there's another team he was though. He was like, I feel like he's went with like 4 different teams.
San Jose, he was with San Jose for a while.
That was.
But he's been with 4 teams total, like the Devils, and then 3 more since then. I thought Nashville was one of them.
Why does he not keep his job? Like that's what blows me away. I don't understand how a guy's this good. It just doesn't get to keep his job more than 3 years.
Well, the reason I think it's working on Vegas here for him again.
He was drafted by the Leafs. It makes sense now. I just saw that.
Pizza Boar.
He was drafted by the Leafs in 1988.
Oh, my God. So the reason why I think it works right now in Vegas, though, is because the big knack that's always been on this guy is that he doesn't trust rookies. He does not let young kids play, and he really leans on his veterans a lot. So in Vegas, what do you have? You got a bunch of vets, right? Like, you got a couple of kids, but the team's a bunch of vets. So I think that's why it works for him. He kind of clicks with these guys a little bit better. But yeah, I wanted to find out where.
So yeah, he's taken New Jersey, San Jose, and the Knights now to conference finals in the last 10 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is pretty impressive because some coaches don't even get.
Oh no, not the Knights. He's with Dallas now. That's what I mean. So he went New Jersey, San Jose, Vegas, Dallas.
No, he's with Vegas right now. Or Pete DeBoer.
Pete DeBoer is the head coach of Dallas.
Oh, yes. Oh, you're right.
That's what I mean. Wow. So that means he's taken 4 teams. New Jersey, San Jose. Exactly. He just wins wherever he goes. Like, what's his career record here? I don't even know what his career record is.
Yeah, I forgot he got canned by Vegas because, Vegas has got Bruce Cassidy now, the coach from Boston.
Yeah.
But it's funny because he's literally now coaching against the team that he was coaching like last year.
It's exactly just it, right?
In the conference finals. So that's amazing. So yeah, it's 4 teams now in the last 10 years he's taken the conference finals.
It's just crazy. And then again, so that's when you can say like.
But he hasn't won any of those, has he?
No, he had. Well, no, he went to the final. Like not just the conference finals. Like he went to the Cup with the Devils. He's gone to the Cup with San Jose too, right? Or no? Yeah, with San Jose, and then he went in the 3rd round back to back with Vegas, and then now he's with Dallas. So like, he
to win one.
Yeah, he gets to the Cup Finals, which is just crazy. But that's what I wanted to come back like just say is that like there's obviously some coaches that can just push.
Another coach that we'll talk about later on
out of their teams. Who's that?
In the NBA.
Oh yes, yeah. Another. Oh, no, that's just Recycle City. We'll talk about the NBA, but it's incredible how much names get recycled in the NBA over 20 years. It's just
but still conference finals with no winning. That's all.
Oh yeah. You're right.
But yes, continue along. Sorry.
No, you're good. No, so we were talking about this Western Conference matchup, Dallas and Vegas. I really was pulling for Seattle to win. Mikey, I think the last time we talked, I don't know if I'd said the line to you, but our buddy Mikey said that he was pushing for Seattle because they were a team of 4 second lines that just kept coming at you in waves, and they did. Yep. They certainly did, but it is.
Man, they pushed him to game 7, 1-goal game.
Yeah,
I give them super credit for that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's fun for them. Dallas, obviously, a really fun built team. Their crowd gets into it, which is something like the Dallas hockey team fans they're better than some of the Pacific Northwest team, bro. Like they're fun to watch.
Well, this is a team that's been good for a long time too. Yeah, like they got their Stanley Cup. Yeah, they've only got one, I believe, but they still have been there. And they've been competitive for a long, long time, this team. So they have a good following. But, what a battle with the Kraken. Anybody that thought the Kraken was just, it was a fluke, they didn't watch the games. This team, any team that beat them had to work their ass off for it. And, there's a reason why they beat Colorado.
Yeah.
There's a reason they pushed Dallas game 7. And you know what? Grubauer played way better in the playoffs than he played at all in the regular season as their goaltender. They just got their leading goal scorer back, which was Jared McCann, which is hilarious. But they lost him in the first series. But, both these guys have got here with the same formula: great goaltending and great defense. And, it doesn't seem to matter who's playing net for Vegas. They've had 8 goalies this year, and they still seem to be winning. They have Jonathan Quick on the bench, which is odd. Ottinger hasn't looked nearly as good this playoffs as he did last playoffs against Calgary.
Well, that first round he looked pretty good, but that second round was pushed. But that also just goes to show that Seattle can push anybody. It doesn't matter who they're going to play; they were going to push that goaltender to the brink, right?
Yeah, good on them. It was fun to watch them compete, but At this point, I want Vegas to come out of that just because, I heard they have 16 out of 20 skaters are Canadian. So,
Yeah.
I'll put my money on them to win the cup.
And I really do hope that if they do make the finals, at some point we get to see them with their golden helmets. What the hell is going on? Like, why have they? Why are these not a permanent thing? For one, and for two, why is this not worn at every one of your home games in the playoffs? Like, at the very least, this should be a playoff bucket. I don't get it, right?
Oh, I totally agree. I love those shiny ones, and even same thing for LA.
LA, the King. Oh, I love it. I love that little rivalry, the platinum or the silver helmet and the gold helmet. I love they've done that.
Well, I know. I love it too, and I love it that they wear those, but they don't wear them in the playoffs. I don't understand that, but people complain about them, but they love them.
Oh yeah, people just want to complain. It's because it's Vegas. Just complain because it's Vegas, right?
But all right, before we wrap up hockey, just want to talk back on the Leafs a little bit.
Yeah.
They got lots going on here. When people hear that the Leafs are in a time crunch and they're like, no, what are they talking about? They're still in this conference finals. There is a time crunch here because by July 1st, a lot of bonuses activate. Cap issues are activate.
No movement clauses activate.
No movement clauses activate. All this stuff, and then everybody's sitting here saying, "Oh, well, Dubas is canned," and then he comes out in an interview and says that he is so emotionally tired and his family's tired and it was a long season and woo-hoo. Like, give me a fucking break. How old is this guy? He's not even 40 yet. You think that's stressful? Try working in fucking a real job, bud. Like, holy shit! You're managing the Toronto Maple Leafs with one of the best fucking core players in the goddamn league, and you're stressed out because you can't win. Well, too bad. You thought it was going to be so easy to win with your little metrics, write down your calculations, and Mr. fucking Genius up there. Well, you don't look like a genius anymore when you're freaking out and throwing your coffee against the wall and fucking screaming and fucking hollering and shit like that. You look like a baby. You look immature up there as a GM. The amount of times you were caught on camera having a temper tantrum. Well, you're wondering why you're stressed out.
Well, I personally think, when I hear that and exactly what you've said as far as getting caught up there yelling at fans and being emotional and stuff like that, I just think he's taken a step back, like in the sense of like, you're right. It was embarrassing. He did talk about that. Like, he's an emotional guy. He was chirping somebody who had made some comments about O'Reilly. And
I'm talking about the fans. I'm just talking about just getting mad by yourself and like you're throwing a controller that you just lost a game of NHL in.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I show some composure.
Now here's the thing with the Leafs for me. I think Dubas sticks around. I think it's asinine if they ever let that guy walk as much as possible. Now, that being said, he said he's going to either be there or he's going to take a year off or take some time off anyway. He's not going to just jump to another team. So that's cool. Don't have to worry about him being anywhere else. Sheldon Keefe, I'm sorry. I know that he's Dubas's buddy. I know that he's through the system, coming through the Marlies and stuff. I think the guy can't.
They should bring back Bobcat or Babcock.
Babcock, yeah, that'd be crazy. But this is with Sheldon Keefe, he couldn't manage a game. The guy couldn't make adjustments to save his life.
No adjustments. That's his problem. There's no adjustments.
Terrible adjustments and very limited playoff experience. Like I feel like going back to the coach can only do so much. When the coach has such a limited playoff experience, I think that's success too. I think that comes back to haunt you too, right? So there's that. Now, but they got some decisions to make. Now you're probably gonna disagree with me here, okay? I understand why the Maple Leafs have to or should pay Austin Matthews $14 million. I understand why you have to keep this guy around. Okay, he's arguably the best Maple Leaf you've ever had. I can't think of a time in our lifetime anyway, outside of '93 Dougie Gilmour, where you had a top 3 or top 5 player in the league on the Maple Leafs team, and you certainly do now. Here's my thing, okay? He is not tied to the city. He is not. Your whole shtick for the last 10 years has been that players want to come and play in Toronto, that the Southwestern Ontario boys want to come and play in Toronto, okay? I have been open with all of my friends about who my favorite Leaf is. I don't even have very many of them, but the one that I would put money down to watch and buy a ticket to see is Mitch Marner. You are probably going to hate me when I say this. I think that Mitch deserves the C. I think that Mitch deserves the bigger contract, and I think that you need to trade Austin Matthews out of Toronto and get all the assets you can for him. You've got a Southwestern Ontario boy that played OHL hockey 2 hours down the road that does everything for the team. I know he doesn't score as many goals as Matthews, but he plays the penalty kill, which is just as important in Toronto as scoring goals, unfortunately. You got to keep this guy around. You ship Austin out. You cap as much as you possibly can from him, and then you move on. Outside of that, I don't think this team needs to change. Okay, Jonathan Tavares, you can't walk away from the contract. Unfortunately, you're tied to it. William Nylander, you get ready to pay that kid because he's going to. You want to pay him. This is another guy you're going to. The effort is there 98% of the time. Okay, sometimes he's lackadaisical and sometimes he's an enigma. I don't know what happens in his head.
But hasn't been like that for a while.
But not in the playoffs for sure. This playoff specifically taught me that William Nylander deserves to stick around. But I am getting flacked. That Austin Matthews is the ticket. That he's the person.
I'll give you the flack.
You're going to give me some flack? Okay, let me see.
You just answered my question because I was just going to ask you. I'm like, Leafs, lose again. And, we know that really you can't just keep going forward, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you've tried with this core four for a good 5-6 years now, okay? It's not working, okay? You're not winning. You won the first round. You finally won. Congratulations. It took you 3 road playoff game overtime wins to get through the first round, okay? And no one even takes that into consideration. They could have easily lost that series to Tampa Bay. And this could be even worse.
Oh, yeah.
Because they won 3 road playoff games. You know the last team to win 3 road playoff games in a row? The 93 Canadians.
So 20 years ago.
Okay, 30 years ago.
30 years ago, sorry, yeah.
30 years ago. That was also the last Canadian team to win a Stanley Cup. And the Canadians won 10 overtime games in a row that year to win that Stanley Cup.
Holy crap.
That's a record. And going off topic here, but my boy Patrick Waugh, I got to represent. He came into the room after double overtime against the Kings in the Stanley Cup final in Gretzky. And this is a quote from John LeClair at the time, which I've seen the video from. And John LeClair played for Montreal at the time. And it was double overtime. Patrick Waugh came in, and he's like, "You guys better score because I'm not going to let another goal in. We'll be here all night."
Well,
that's a Patrick Waugh story. But when it comes down to it, which core four would you trade? Because you got to switch something up. The goaltender, you're not going to score a premier goaltender at this point, so you got to stick with what you've been doing. And my thing is that yes, Mitch Marner is a Ontario boy. He grew up wanting to be a Maple Leaf. I get it. So did John Tavares. We'll get the whole team wanting to grow up to be Maple Leafs, and maybe they'll win. But when it comes down to it, Austin Matthews won the Hart Trophy last year and the Rocket Richard, okay? Mitch Marner is never going to score more than 30 goals in a season.
But he may win the Selke. There's a good chance he wins the Selke.
Great. A Selke's great, but if you're not putting the puck in the net, I don't give a shit about the Selke. I like Mitch Marner, but Mitch Marner is not a playoff player. He does not have the body for it. He does not have the stature. He disappears. And if he does not get the space he needs, he gets flustered. He is not a leader. He does not speak up on behalf of the team ever. Yeah, the one game before game 5, finally, game 4, finally, we know we got to be better. We got to be better. Well, yeah, you do have to be better. And there's got to be more creating. And William Nylander was by far their best player in that round, because he was trusting his abilities and he's skating hard and he's keeping his head up. How many times I see Mitch Marner get the puck and just put his head down and panic? I love him as a player, don't get me wrong. I don't think that you're going to be able to base your offense around Mitch Marner if you get rid of Austin Matthews, because John Tavares is not getting better, okay? And William Nylander will get better, but those two guys, that's not their thing. You need to invest in Austin Matthews, because this guy is not going to stop and forgetting how to score goals. Yes, he was a bit of an off year this year. I think he was hurt. It came out today that he was hurt. I don't know what it was, but he was not himself. But Mitch Marner is not a guy that can handle the load of a captaincy and performing and speaking on behalf of the media. There's not a fucking chance.
Okay, so 2 things. One, I don't think that he's actually been leaned on in order to do that, because the guy is on the third on the post. Like it's Tavares, Matthews, him. That's how it's going to go for right now. I think if he's given the opportunity, as you mentioned, he certainly has some things to say to the media and some fires to spark. Now, the other thing, how many 10 million plus players or teams are in the playoffs right now with 10 million plus players on their roster?
Probably none of them.
None of them. Yeah. So we're going to go and pay this guy $14 million now. More than
no team has won yet with a $10 million player.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it was 1 year off because Nathan McKinnon, of course, takes his big payday this year, right? And that was the year after they win it. But
yes, exactly.
But how in God's name are we going to pay, or how are the Leafs going to pay this man $14 million and that much more than Nathan McKinnon? Like, I'm sorry, you will not. I understand what you're saying.
That's just the way sports go, man. That's the way sports go. Once one guy gets it, then the other guy's going to get it. Once, McDavid, and, he's going to be grouped within $1 million or $2 million with McDavid because that's going to be projected for that too. It's the same way quarterbacks get paid in the NFL that shouldn't get that much.
You know what, though, Rick? I mean, if we're, I'm being a futurist when I say this, but like we mentioned Connor McDavid, this is a team that could invest a lot of money into the players around Mitch Marner, and then when McDavid's free agency comes up, maybe they can go after Connor McDavid. There's no chance of that happening. And another Southwestern Ontario boy that maybe wants to come home. There's no chance of that happening if you got a $14 million player on your team, and Mitch Marner's probably going to get another $11 or $12 million in his contracts up too.
But one of my other parts of that argument is I think that Mitch Marner is worth more. Okay, I think Mitch Marner is worth more. I think you can get more from Mitch Marner right now
because of the contract.
The Leafs have one fucking first round pick, and then they don't have a pick till the 6th round this year.
Yeah, they got a very bare cupboard, and they have a very bare draft cupboard too.
Yeah, so they don't have a lot of guys in there, but I think you can get more from Mitch Marner. Everybody's always asking, "Oh, the Leafs need D. The Leafs need." Well, the Leafs had fucking D this year. They had defense. They had like 7. They were running 7 and 11.
Yeah,
which I think is stupid. I never will ever agree with 7 and 11 ever. If a guy's not good enough to play more than 6 minutes a night, he shouldn't be on the fucking ice. What the hell is the problem here? Well, we're gonna bring this guy in so he can play 6 minutes. Well, what the fuck? Like, just get him out of there. Get a routine. Obviously, double shifting Matthews and Marner didn't work. So why wouldn't you just keep the 4 lines together that got you there, the 4th best fucking record in the NHL? Like, I don't understand why this 7 and 11 thing was going on so much. I just don't fucking get that at all. It was so stupid how they were doing that. And even Kevin Biesca, who I've come to love as an analyst.
Yeah.
I love him.
Did you like his Wayne Gretzky line about if this is not, there was 99 hits? They had said that. I don't know if you saw that line or not. They said there's already 99 hits in this game, and you think that's an omen because if Wayne Gretzky was out there, he'd be high sticking Maple Leafs.
That'd be awesome. He's got such a good contrast of humor, knowledge, and and looking good. 80% of feeling good is looking good. The guy looks good all the time. Mm-hmm. So always loving Biesca. The Leafs, it just looks like we're back to square one here. They have 10 UFAs. Guys like David Kampf, guys like Noel Acciari that came in and fit really good. They had Bunting. Well, fuck Bunting. He played like shit.
Yeah.
But, those third-line guys that they had that were playing really good hockey for them, the Kerfoots, like guys like that. Losing Matthew Nye really sucked for them. He was playing really good hockey for them. But, a lot of work to do. But on the side note, the assistant GM, which I've heard lots of good things about through Alan as well. Alan, big Leafs fan. Brandon Pridham. Apparently this guy worked for the NHL as a salary cap analyst in 2015 and 16. So Kyle Dubas has pretty much relied on him completely for his cap situations and managing cap. If Kyle Dubas does decide to stay, rumors are that Calgary Flames are interested in him as their GM. So everyone's saying the biggest loss that the Leafs could end up having this year could be their assistant GM. So that is just a side note.
Yeah, okay. All right.
But before we get on from hockey, I do want to mention, obviously, we know Arizona, Temp Arizona or whatever, denied a new arena, which Gary Bettman said, we got the new arena coming, it's all good. And then, no, it's not all good once again. So.
Well, and did you see, we talked about Dallas earlier and how much Dallas comes out for the fans come out for hockey. Houston has asked to move Arizona to the Houston Rockets. They want to be involved in some sort of vote as an opportunity to try and move.
It's funny you mentioned that because I was just going to say I got the 7 top destinations here.
Well, they want to share it with the Rockets, and
Houston's number 1.
Yeah, I mean, which.
And you were just talking about Dallas fans and how much they've gotten behind the Dallas Stars. So obviously we know that this is probably an area that could support this team.
There's enough people, and we know how many people from the West Coast moved into Texas recently, moving out of California. But I am talking about teams where they need to land. Can you please, Ricky Williams, can you tell me why the hell Quebec City is selling out 18,500 seats for the Ramparts? Why are they not even remotely in the conversation?
I love Quebec City. I will say my answer for where I think they should go at the end of this conversation, but we will go through the teams first that they have said are rumored destinations. Quebec City is there. Obviously, we know that Gary Bettman doesn't want to go back to Canada. We know that. Winnipeg is the bottom 5 in revenue.
Right? He doesn't
Winnipeg bottom 5 in revenue since they've come back into the league. So that's because they have like a 16,000 seat arena. But, we got teams like Kansas City who have failed before. Patrick Mahomes was praising them, though.
Thank you for failing, Kansas City, because I wouldn't have the New Jersey Devils if you didn't fail.
Yes, exactly. Salt Lake City, apparently a big rich guy wants to move a team there and recreate the Miracle on Ice. And then we got Milwaukee, which there's no chance. We know that's not happening. Another one, Atlanta, which has already failed, and we know they're not going back to Atlanta.
Failed twice. How are they even remotely in the conversation?
So this is my argument, okay?
And this is a team, hold on, Atlanta failed when they had Heatley and Kovalchuk, offensive great players on the ice.
Oh, yeah, well, but they never won a playoff series either.
No.
But either way, my thing is this is where a team should go. And I know everybody will jump all over me, but where the second team should go is Toronto, okay? There should be a second team in the GTA, okay, because you know that they could support it. There's 2 teams in LA. There's 2 teams in New York. There is 2 teams in all of those areas other than Toronto, okay? Give these fans a team that can fucking win, because we know expansion teams just do fantastic all the time now.
It wouldn't be expansion. It'd be moved.
Well, whatever. They'll still move. It doesn't matter if it's expansion or move. They'll be better than the Leafs. And that is what they're afraid of. But I'm telling you, the GTA between Markham, Brampton, all those places, you put another team outside of Toronto and move this team there, guaranteed, this is your best pitch to Bettman. You guarantee that thing's going to sell out every night, no matter what. Because how many people in Toronto are so disgusted with the Leafs that they would just love to jump ship and have another team that they can just jump on the subway and go watch another team other than the Leafs.
And actually, how what it comes down to is how many people don't like the Leafs, cheer for other teams, and would rather line the pockets of any other team than the MLSE all over again, right? So you put a team in Hamilton. Now here's what I will say: if that does happen. I know we have a fantastic OHL team here in London. They're currently down in elimination right now. Yeah, they're currently looking elimination down the neck here. But if we had an NHL team that was within an hour and a half of us, I think that it would be not out of the realm of the possibility that we get some sort of a AHL type squad up here. Like, I just don't think that Erie isn't that far away. I know the other AHL team's a little further than that, of course, and you have to do some traveling.
Hamilton, though, because Hamilton, they've already tried. Hamilton, I don't think. I think it should be in the GTA.
So I don't know, man. So you're talking like Vaughan, North York.
I'm talking about Markham, Vaughan, Brampton.
Keep it out of Brampton, please. I would just like the only good thing about landing in Brampton is that we wouldn't have to worry about the Devils are called the armpit of the NHL. Well, you'd be looking at Brampton being the armpit.
That would be the best part. They could play the cellar dwellers, and they could imagine the rivalry between them and the league. I'm just saying, man. If you want to pitch to the NHL a franchise that will not fail in Canada, money-wise, it is in the GTA. There should be 2 teams in Toronto, the same way there is 2 in New York, the same way there is 2 in LA, or all those types of teams. That is a fucking area with the GTA that has almost 4 million people that you can support that. You can support 2 NHL teams, especially when you have one that hasn't won since 1967.
And listen, the Leafs argument is going to be, well, they're going to cut into our revenue and they're going to cut into our fan base. Well, you know what? Dallas had the Cowboys. They let Houston come in. And they are still the most wealthiest team in the NFL. They're the most wealthiest team or most valuable team in all of sports, maybe. So maybe it might be a good thing for MLSE if they have a little competition there. Maybe their pockets do get a little further lined. Who knows, right?
Well, who knows? But I know that I've heard about, even when Jim Balsillie was trying to bring it originally to Hamilton when that was going on, when BlackBerry was a thing. That was the big argument then, is that Markham and MLSE and all that, they would not allow them to have a team because it would cut. But it's like you were going to sell out either way. So it's just, I'm just saying, to the NHL wise, I think it's probably will never happen, but that's where I would put it. As much as I would love to have a Quebec and Nordiques, Montreal Canadiens rivalry again, I think the best spot is in Markham. We have to get away from hockey. Bedard to the Blackhawks.
I'm stoked about it. Obviously, our boy Mike is incredibly happy about it as well.
If there was anywhere for him to go, I would have rather it there other than Columbus or Anaheim or San Jose. So, I'm
kept out of the Metro. He kept out of the East. I'm totally fine with it. I can watch him and be happy with whatever he does now in highlights. At the end of the night, it has nothing to do with the East guy.
We will end hockey on Charles Barkley because it was absolutely beautiful. Him on Spit and Chicklets. I don't know if you've seen it.
Has the man lost a ton of weight? Have you seen it?
He's lost a lot of weight. I think it's because Shaq was bugging him so much, and now he's thinner than Shaq.
He's like the healthiest I've ever seen him, even playing ball.
Man, there was a commercial of him sitting on the couch with his younger self right now on TV. And it's like, I swear, ever since that commercial, he's just, lost a whole bunch of weight. But he was on Spit and Chicklets with Biznathy, and, he's like, I was watching hockey the other day, and this guy got 70 stitches. He's like, 70 stitches and came back and played. He's like, if an NBA player got 70 stitches, he would retire. So we'll end hockey on that, and move on to basketball. Transition with a little Sir Charles Barkley into basketball. We got conference finals on that side of things as well. 2 amazing games to start the conference finals on both sides. Big comeback in the Lakers game. I know you didn't get the outcome you were looking for yesterday, but
first and foremost, I understand that you are you're a person who loves sports of all kind. You're going to love teams that do well. What the hell are you doing wearing a Lakers hat tonight, Ricky? What is going on? You want this Lakers-Celtics final again? Is that what you're chasing?
That's what you got it. That's what I knew. I was hoping you were going to put your Celtics on. And, the only reason I have this is because of the great late Kobe Bryant. I have a Kobe Bryant snakeskin jersey, so I got a Lakers hat to go with it. But I make no mistake, this is not going for LeBron James.
For LeBum? I was going to say, are you suddenly cheering for Mr. Glass and LeBum?
Yeah, I was going for LeBron James last series. That was like the only time I ever went for him because I put a bet on him and he fucked me. So that's where that ended.
I was going to say you have to cheer for Jamal Murray. I mean, you're Mr. Canada. Like you do it all the time.
I do, yeah, and it's great to see Jamal Murray. But there's something about Jokic I don't like. I don't know why. Is it that he doesn't try?
Are you angry that he just throws up threes in Anthony Davis's face without even trying at a buzzer beater?
Well, Anthony Davis, don't get me started about him. But when it comes down to it, I am chasing Lakers Celtics final. I am, I'm an old school guy. I would love to see this. I think we got to see that back in, what was it? Was it
2015? Right? We went right back after we won 2008 when they won the championship. 2009 is when they went and they got smoked by the Lakers the next year. So not smoked, but it was a good series. But I mean, I call it smoked. Any loss is a smoke to me. Now
something nostalgic about getting Celtics and Lakers. I would love to see it, especially with these two teams. But both of them clearly have their hands full. So what are the Celtics going to need to do next game to make sure they don't lose to Jimmy Butler again?
Well, I don't even know who the analyst was that said it last night, but it might have been Mark Jackson. But in the first loss to the 76ers, they only shot less than 30 three-pointers. In the first loss to the 76ers, they had something like 15 turnovers. Right? Like this is just what they did last night too. Turned the ball over. They only shot like 23s. Tatum, after having 51 points, completely went silent in the second half of the basketball game. Right? So that's a big.
That I want to talk about too because for the people that don't know, for whatever reason, we're talking about right now Celtics and Miami Heat. Boston Celtics, Miami Heat. The Heat beat the Bucks and the Knicks to get here, and the Celtics beat the 76ers and the Hawks to get here. So when you're watching last night, Reggie Miller is going crazy the whole time because he's like, I don't understand why, the Miami Heat are aware of who their best player is, and the ball goes through Jimmy Butler all the time. Well, 6 steals has a lot to do with that as well. But
I was gonna say Jimmy Jordan. This is not Jimmy Butler anymore. This is playoff. This is Jimmy Jordan. Okay, this guy turns into Jimmy Jordan every fucking playoffs that he's in. And when we came into this series, I said to my boys that are into basketball, I am worried about this team. This is a team, as you mentioned, that went through 2 good teams to get to where they are right now. That came in through the play-in and still made it in. Right. This is a team that shouldn't have been here, but when they get to the playoffs, Jimmy Jordan turns it up another notch, and he knows how to play fucking defense, especially against the Celtics.
6 steals yesterday. This is a guy too that took a lot of flack from people as not being motivated and being a cancer in the locker room and all this kind of shit. And when you hear him talk on the mic last night after that win, that does not sound like a cancer. He sounds like a guy that is very, very proud of his team and works his bag off. Now, on to the other side of things with Jason Tatum. They kept calling for Jason Tatum to get the ball. Well, they gave Jason Tatum the ball. What did he do? He turned the goddamn ball over 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
he did not look like himself at the end of that game last night, and he's fantastic. I love Jason Tatum, but I think he was intimidated by Jimmy Butler last night. I think he was intimidated by him as a younger player, and I feel like he was having a hard time matching Jimmy Butler, and it was pissing him off. So he was trying to do too much. And, they got really weird on offense in Boston there towards the end. I don't know what was going on. Al Horford needs to relax sometimes. Like, I know he had a good playoff last year, but he is just like sometimes he goes a little overboard for me. But
he's pushing.
He's to go 7 games.
Yeah, he's pushing. He obviously wants that championship. I mean, this is going to be, if he gets it this year, that very well could be the end of his career, right? But on the flip side, Marcus Smart. I know that I have hyped Marcus Smart. There is a reason. There is a reason why I'm wearing the Rajon Rondo jersey right now, because Rajon Rondo was one of my favorite basketball players for the Celtics because he was fundamental. He knew when to get the ball away, but he stole the ball just as much as he dished the ball. And Marcus Smart last night, the man. How many steals? You talk about 6 steals for Jimmy Butler. I think Smart had 3 or 4 himself. He had 10 assists coming in through halftime. Like, this guy wants the ball. He wants to help carry the team. He's elevated his game. Especially last year in the playoffs, I fell in love with Marcus Smart. I really liked the kid before, but last year in the playoffs, I fell in love with him and the feistiness he brought. But this year in that game, like last night, he's going to bring that every single night of this series. So as long as Tatum can kind of put up maybe 10 more points, we win that game. So I'm not worried about it.
Jaylen Brown being so banged up too, and then fucking it was a big moment for him to get hurt yesterday when he fell on the court, slipped and fell on his arm.
I'm surprised he's still wearing the mask. Like, how long is this going to have to be? I thought it was maybe temporary. Maybe he's turned into what was his name? From Dallas. He's turned to Rip, and he's gotten used to it, and he's not going to take it off. I hope that's not the case.
You don't remember, though, he took the mask off a couple games ago, and of course somebody smacked him in the face.
Yeah.
And it probably re-aggravated everything, but I don't know how those guys play with those masks on to begin with, because that looks like it would take away your peripheral vision so much.
And the fog, it's just like the moisture on your face, I feel, right? Ugh.
Well, and I feel like, it would help, but I feel like it would still hurt. But either way, I feel like him not being 100%, he's playing well still, don't get me wrong, but they need him. I expect this series to go, 7 games. Like, Eric Spoelstra, he's come such a long way. He gets such recognition off being
Talk about a coach that just wins. The guy has had dog for rosters. He's had really good rosters, don't get me wrong, but this guy just wins.
Through everything. That's the most impressive thing.
Yeah.
He's been there through the fucking the dynasty. They kept him, and then through the grind of like having shit players, and then now
like Udonis Haslem. I know people are going to harp on him because the guy he's a player coach, and he's so important to the team that he's so important he's going to take up a roster spot and money against the cap. You can't turn him into a fucking coach. It's the same freaking thing that he's doing right now. Like, I can't believe you eat a roster spot and cap room on this old man. I've never understood that. Pay him a coach's salary and put him on the bench.
There must be something about that. I don't know, but whatever. Either way, not doing this also without Tyler Hero. Like, Tyler Hero's a big part of that. And,
who in coming into this offseason, I believe, is going to be looking to be a starter somewhere, right? Like, he is going to look.
You would think so, yeah.
Yeah, he's mentioned that before. Last year he mentioned that he wanted a bigger role in the next whatever he was going to do, and he obviously is not going to get that in Miami. He's going to have to go somewhere, I think, but. Good.
Well, Miami keeps coming up with these players too, like these Gabe Vincents and stuff. That just seem to be good players. It's kind of like what the Celtics did last year with that Derek White guy.
The Buffalo. We call him the Buffalo Rick because he played at Colorado. And if you look closely, I'll send you a picture. You take a picture of a Buffalo head, you put Derek White next to it. That man looks just like a fucking buffalo, bro. It's hilarious.
Well, and he started to come alive in the last few games too. I think he hit like 3 threes or something in one of the last couple games. But we got Jimmy Butler averaging 31.5 a game, and Tatum at 28. This is really going to be a series of who it's between those two guys. It really is. Like, I think whoever outperforms one or the other is going to win the series. Who would ever thought, though, an 8 seed gets to the finals? We have an 8 seed and a 7 seed in the conference finals for the NBA, which is like unheard of. That does not happen. The Lakers are 7 seed, Miami Heat 8 seed. That's crazy. That doesn't happen too often. So good for those teams for making it, to make it from the play-in to to get to the finals. So.
And you were talking about who would have thought. Well, who did think is that the coach cancer, James Harden, gets his coach fired again and doesn't even look like he's going to be sticking around long enough to find out what it's going to be like in Philly without him. I wanted to touch base on that because of the rumors that come out.
Oh, don't worry. I had that all set up, man, because, when it comes down to it, like, this is a guy that has literally, it's unbelievable. How can you even demand anything when you scored 9 points going 3 from 11 from the field in Game 7? Okay, I know you remember that first game against Celtics. You look like you had the old James Harden back.
42 points.
And 40 points, and this is without Embiid, and he goes off, and then all of a sudden disappears for the rest of the series. And now he's making demands.
Well, Rick,
you know what, Steve? Steve's a big, obviously, Sixers fan. He said to me today, this was between Embiid and Harden, 9 points and 15 points. They scored 24. This is the worst game they have played together this whole year.
Mm-hmm. And you want to talk about demands? This guy had demands in Oklahoma. He had demands in Houston. He had demands in Brooklyn. He's got demands now in Philadelphia. He's going to have demands wherever the fuck he goes because that's the type of player and type of person that this guy is.
The worst part is he's asking for a 4-year deal now. He wants to opt out for a 4-year deal. So that you think any team is going to pay you $50 million a year till you're fucking 38?
Yeah.
We learned our fucking lesson with Russell Westbrook.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think he's going to fall off the map like Russell Westbrook because I think he's a hell of a lot better offensive player. But what you bring to the team as far as being the personality that you are, the character that you bring to that team, I'm sorry, man. You've done nothing in the NBA outside of embarrass yourself and chase yourself from other teams. And oddly enough...
And he wants to go back to Houston. The team already cried his way out.
He might want to go back to Houston. Or if he decides to stay in Brooklyn, Brooklyn's going to look at hiring Mike D'Antoni. Give me a break.
How is this guy still getting a job?
This is what I was talking about earlier, where you were talking about when I said recycled names in the NBA. This is one of the top names that have been mentioned to go to Brooklyn in order to try, or not Brooklyn, sorry, in order to go to Philly, in order to try and keep him around in Philadelphia.
Okay, so I thought you were referring to Doc Rivers when you said recycled talent. So, but Doc Rivers, okay, we got to dive into Doc Rivers because James Harden said he's not playing without Doc Rivers leaving. Doc Rivers is gone. Doc Rivers, okay.
Well, let me say it quick. Okay. Doc Rivers got us a championship in Boston. Doc Rivers through that championship got more job. He wouldn't have had any other job in the NBA if he didn't win that championship. This guy's been living on that 2008 championship for far too long. But
it's not just that though. It is like the failure.
Every roster he's has had stacked teams.
It's not like he doesn't win.
Stacked teams.
Guy wins to the conference finals and then loses. Look at this. Conference finals. This is now. When he was up 3-2, has lost 7 times in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And he has also been up 3-1 and lost. So 10 series in a row being up 3-2 or 3-1, he has lost since that championship.
He's a mediocre coach. I'm sorry. I love him.
Mediocre coaches don't get to the conference finals 10 times.
Ricky Williams, this guy has had salary cap or payrolls that are at the top of the league in every team he's been in. He was in Brooklyn when he had Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett and what's his face? I can't remember the third player now. But when he left Boston to go to Brooklyn. Yeah, from there he went to the Clippers. He went to the Clippers and he had the boys down.
Chris Paul, Blake
Griffin. He had them down there and his son. Okay, which I also thought was kind of corny. And then he leaves them and he goes from them to Philadelphia. And he's had nothing but all-star talent in Philadelphia. The process in Philadelphia, they have invested in every single. It's not like he's gone to a team with mediocre talent. He's a top-notch talent.
Can't say he's mediocre. He's not mediocre.
He is.
He's just a guy that can't win.
He's a guy that can't win because he has zero adjustments. We just made fun of Sheldon O'Keefe. If you talk to any Philadelphia,
how many fucking conference finals has Sheldon O'Keefe made it to?
Okay, but we're also talking about, again, we come back to a team where he's had 4 players that are the top of their payroll every single year he's been in.
But he's still getting the best out of certain guys that some guys don't get the best out of. He does
like
do
who?
That, and he has done.
Like who? I don't understand.
Like who? He just won the fucking MVP with him.
Yeah. Okay, he did not win. Joel Embiid did not win because of Doc Rivers. Joel Embiid has been doing this in the NBA for 4 years.
He won because of him. He's been an influence.
He's been doing this for 4 or 5 years now in the NBA, and the only reason that he was able to successfully finally turn the page this year is because Kevin Durant fell off the fucking map. If Kevin Durant and Steph Curry were still who they were 2 years ago, you wouldn't have been Embiid's MVP, unfortunately.
Steph Curry won the championship last year. Let's relax here.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I'm saying, though. You can't give the... Okay. I just think that Doc Rivers has had talent wherever he has gone, and he wins. The team wins in spite of him. Philadelphia, one of the top,
can't win the big one. Yeah,
one of the top complaints from the Clippers fans was the guy could not adjust in a game, and one of the top complaints right now for Philadelphia fans is they can't adjust in a game. That was Harden's biggest issue. There was no adjustments. We didn't do anything different. We just stick to the script. Now, I don't think Harden has anything to fucking complain about. That's right. You got to absolutely take responsibility. You're making as much as you guys are, and also with your career history the way that it is, you've got a lot to do before you can start barking orders up against a team. I think again. It's ridiculous.
Well, and it comes down to it regardless. Like, no matter what, it comes down to it. When you've done it 10 times in a row, there's obviously something wrong. You're obviously doing something wrong. Whether or not you don't adjust, or whether or not your players are sick and tired of you, or what, I don't know what it is. But to have 10 series in a row when you've had a lead after Game 6 and you're not winning, like that's. It's got to be. He's
can you think of one player, and Joel Embiid included, since the 2008 championship that he has had on his roster that was comparative to Kevin Garnett and the dog that Kevin Garnett is? Because if it wasn't for Kevin Garnett, listen, I know Ray Allen dropped some threes, and I know that Paul Pierce came back out of the wheelchair when he was hurt and when he's injured. Kevin Garnett's the reason we won that championship. Right, there's not a single player on any one of Doc Rivers' team that he's had since then. They've had the talent that they had comparable to the Celtics that year, but they have not had a dog like Kevin Garnett was. I don't care what Blake Griffin was. Okay,
Rajon too, didn't you?
What's that?
You Rajon Rondo too, didn't you?
That's a dog. Dogs.
He had one of the best fucking finals ever. Like at the time, he was fucking killing it. I remember, but totally agree. It's just it's sad to wait for him to go though, because he seems like a good guy. And just for, James Harden to make it look like it's all his fault as opposed to, his fault at all when you scored 9 points in Game 7, just cry your way out of another place and get another coach.
This is one of the few times where I'm going to shit on the player and the coach at the exact same time.
But I'm gonna talk about the Lakers a little bit because you did bring this up. I mentioned to Steve the other night. I was just like, I'm always the Michael guy, always. But I did say, this is kind of like a Peyton Brady moment in the Super Bowl. I have a Sean when he said, if he comes back from this one against Atlanta, then I'll admit he's better. Now, I believe, Anthony Davis, gets wheeled out in a wheelchair for a concussion and then doesn't have the concussion the next day. Got to be the best thing I've ever seen.
The only thing that it does better is it overtakes the Paul Pierce with the Celtics. It's so funny that it's a Laker, the arch rival. They do some other silly move with a friggin' wheelchair that's going to be talked about for years now too.
Like, how can you get wheeled out in a wheelchair for getting hit in the face and then not even be in concussion protocol the next day? You gotta be the biggest glass house I've ever seen. I've always said about this guy.
Certainly wouldn't play with 70 stitches, Rick. I'll tell you that much.
But if LeBron James he definitely not. Fuck. God, 70 stitches. Yeah, right. If LeBron James somehow pulls off this win against the Nuggets and then your Celtics, because I believe there's in any real world, there's no way Miami actually wins in a 7-game series against you guys, unless you go 7 again, and that'll be 3 7-game series in a row. Who knows? That takes a toll on any team.
Fucking Jimmy Jordan.
I do believe that it will be, the Celtics in the finals, and I do want the Lakers. But if somehow LeBron pulls his win off against Jokic and Murray, and fucking that team's a powerhouse, and then beats you guys, and he has something to do with it, then I would be getting close to comparing, giving him a chance to even being on that level. If he pulls this off right now.
Think how daunting the task is already to get to where he is to then beat Denver.
Well, you got to be on some fucking level to be with Michael Jordan, baby. I'll tell you that.
I know, so, and then to go on to beat a historically good Boston Celtics team. Hopefully, if they make it into the finals, and then I'll maybe consider him in a conversation. He's not making any real waves, but I'll entertain the conversation now. Oh my God!
I would seriously do that.
I call him the bum. I am of the opinion that I think that he's surpassed Jordan at this point, especially because he's still got 40 more years of life living to go to get to the business marketing level that Jordan is currently. So I think that he's obviously
$400 billion a year from Nike. So.
Yeah. So he's doing great, and it hurts me to say that because I call him the bum and everything. But I want to make sure that anybody that is watching or anybody that listens to this anytime, I call him the bum specifically because of the last 4.5 years and because of how he has changed his play and the flopping and the yelling at the refs when you're in a suit and you're not even in the fucking game. Stuff like that. I still think when the guy gets on the court, holy shit! You can't take anything away from him, right?
Well, yeah, unless you want him to shoot the ball in the last 2 minutes, then you may have a problem. But That's my biggest problem. I was watching this, and that's where this argument comes from. I was talking to Steve the other day. I was like, when I was watching him against the Warriors, and they're lucky they won against the fucking Warriors, because LeBron James passed up the opportunity to shoot so many goddamn times, didn't drive the lane once in the last 6 minutes. This motherfucker wants to be compared to Michael Jordan, and you don't take the game into your hands. This is what I'm saying to Steve. If he was saving his energy for this is the time is now. If you were saving all your fucking little rest that you have throughout the year, and now saving your energy against the first two teams you played, the time is now. If you want to turn it on and show me that you can actually take over a fucking game still in the fourth quarter and drive the net instead of look for Austin Reeves or whoever the fuck else you're looking for, you need to take over the game now. And show me that you can be compared to Michael Jordan by doing that. Don't rely on Anthony Glasshouse Davis and whoever the else you got around you. It is your time. You need to take over these games because you still can. We know you can. You've been resting yourself. You still can smash over anybody. These are the times to do it, because if you want to be, in my mind, and a lot of people's minds, maybe not yours, but compared, then these are the times to take over against a Nuggets team and a Celtics team, assuming they make it past the Heat. These are the times I want to see it. Because Michael Jordan, when he was 37, this was him beating John Stockton and Malone, okay, twice in a row, okay? I need, this is your time to beat two good teams here and win your fifth championship. That's what I think.
I like it. I dig it. I'll dig it. And I will turn the page on LeBum if he's able to do it too, okay?
LeBurno.
Yeah.
But hey, go Lakers. You're not going to see this too often. But real quick, I just want to shout out Wilt Chamberlain, another Laker, which we're repping the hat for, because I don't know if you saw this stat the other day of the game that Wilt Chamberlain had in 1968, but we're just going to revisit this for 1 second because this is a motherfucking game. I'll show you this one right here. So apparently, Wilt Chamberlain had in, let's see here, the 1960s, he had 3 quadruple doubles. Wow. 3. Okay. But his best game came at the end of the 1967-68 regular season, where he reportedly recorded the only quintuple double in NBA history. So this guy, and this is March 18th, 1968, 53 points, 32 rebounds, 14 assists, 24 blocks, and 11 steals.
24 blocks.
24 blocks.
I don't think anybody in I don't think I would ever hear anybody get that many blocks unless they're playing 8th graders against 2nd graders. Holy crap, man. It's like the 32 rebounds and 24 blocks. Like, that's seriously like high schoolers playing against public, elementary schoolers, man. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, 5 stats, he was over a double. So shout out to Wilt, still the only guy to score 100 points in a game. But yeah, so lots of exciting stuff going in the basketball world. Just watching the pregame right now. Getting ready for I think Lakers again tonight against the Nuggets. So see how that one goes.
Rad.
Yeah, we're whatever. We'll keep trucking along here because we got a couple other things to cover still. We got the AL East, and we got to dive into that real quick, just because unbelievable. At this point in time, Boston is last place, but that doesn't mean much at all. I looked it up. They would still be first or second in every other division in the league except for the NL West, and even that, they would be 2 games out of one of those spots. So this is parity that we've never seen before, which we knew was going to kind of happen once they lowered the division games from 19 to, I think it's 13 now or something that they play.
Yeah, I knew we've had our ups and downs throughout the year. Beginning of the season, I told you, though, watch them fucking Orioles, man. I know that they are still a few games back from first place.
But I was going to totally give you credit for that.
But this team, man, when I think year's end, with the youth they have on this team, I know you would think that maybe they may be tired or something like that. I think these boys are going to be playing. And when they start catching some of the vibe of playoff baseball, oh my. They are just such a fun squad to watch. You talked about parity. It really is parity. I mean, you're looking across the entire league. The number 1 team in the league right now, where they sit in 28 and 15, of course, is the fucking Dodgers. Who else would you expect, right? But the teams that flip from last year to this year as far as division leaders and everything has been quite drastic too. It's fun. It means that the firm systems are actually working. That teams aren't doing the whole buying talent all the time anymore that they used to be doing, outside of the Dodgers, of course.
Yep.
But no, this is fun baseball. I mean, I don't mind where the Red Sox are right now. This wasn't a season that I was coming into expecting a lot to happen in the AL East. As long as the Yankees and the Rays aren't doing well, and unfortunately the Rays are still doing well, then I can enjoy baseball.
With so many pitching injuries, too,
I don't get it. I don't like, and it's not even like they had that
pitching factory down there. It's like maybe that's why they didn't move this shitty stadium for so long, because they have like a pitching factory underneath Tropicana where they just keep reproducing pitchers that nobody's heard of that are good.
Yeah, well, and they also, I mean, I think they were a team that were, you know, when the season started in the NHL and the Devils started stacking all those wins, and everybody's like, oh, we'll see where they're in October. And I'm like, listen, I don't care what the fuck happens in October and November. Stack the wins when you can. And like, I think Tampa did the right thing. They stacked those wins early because I think in the long term of this season, when you talk about how many injuries, that's what's really going to show on a team. Like the injuries over the 180 something games in a season, right? So I think that eventually Tampa is going to have to find out who they really are. I don't think we really know who Tampa is.
They're 5-5 in their last 10, so at least they've come back down to earth a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, Jays right now, talking about a roller coaster, 6-4 in their last 10. You know, we go from, you know, getting our ass kicked by you guys, losing 2 in a row.
4 in a row, baby. You got the sweep with the 4.
4, yeah, that's what I mean, 4. And then we lost 2 in a row to Philly to lose 6 in a row. Mm-hmm. And then we just sweep the Braves.
Yeah.
You know, the NL leading Braves pretty much in their division. We sweep them, and then, you know, we
get walked off.
Yeah, lose 2 to the Yankees in controversy with, you know, between, you know, the infamous eye glare, and then, you know, Yerminga or whatever his name getting thrown out for hand stickiness the game after that. You know, I feel like we're getting back to the, you know, some good old rivalry here between the Jays and the Yankees.
And not only was there that, but there was the third piece where, you know, Aaron Judge broke the maple leaf, right? With the home run. So, I mean, there's another extra added
you know,
layer
last night we were smart. We walked them, and we ended up coming out with the win. Jay Jansen, 2 walk-offs in 4 days. What a beauty. And then we got, you know, this tonight where Aaron Judge hit a home run in the first inning. So that's 4 home runs in the series he's hit against us. Huge piss off. But, you know, when it comes down to it, the Jays, I think they're just still figuring out who they really are. I think they're figuring out which lineup works the best for these guys. But when it comes down, we got 4 guys hitting over 300 right now. Boba at 319, Chapman at 318, Vladdy at 312, and Kevin Kiermaier at 327.
Where's that fat little catcher?
He's at like 220. He's had a tough start. Kirky, but
listen,
he's starting to figure it out. He's starting to figure it out. He had a batting session the other day where he's starting to figure out some of the things he was doing wrong. And in the last 10 games, I think he's batting close to 280. So it's coming around a little bit. But yeah, definitely not anything compared to what
this. Last year. That's a guy that I think, you know, should have been traded. Like Shane popped that idea into my head last year, and I know you harped on him pretty hard about it at the trade deadline that you guys had so much catching.
No, I harped on him now. I didn't harp. I was the one saying last year I thought that this is the guy you should have traded with Alejandro Kirk because he's not going to have the same year he's having this year. But I think there's more to him than just stats.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's a fan favorite, no doubt. I mean, after we did last year, it's going to take a lot to lose the fans.
You don't just forget how to hit either. I think he was just, you know, I think he just ate too much over the offseason. It's taking a little bit longer to get back in the groove of things. But I think with the batting session he had the other day, apparently wasn't getting his hands started hot enough. But another guy mentioning Shane, Brandon Bell's been batting like 300 since, you know, the month of May. So good to see on that aspect of things. But, you know, really, when it comes down to it, we got Bo Bichette with 58 hits, leading the league again in hits so far.
I think that was also like the other trade bait that they said this was the player you need to get rid of.
But you never trade Bo Bichette. I don't care what you guys are smoking if you're doing that. Like, you know, you got fucking Chapman right now leading the league in 18 doubles. You know, things are going well right now. The pitching is coming around. Alan Manoah is a mess. I don't know what the fuck is going on with him. But Gosman's leading the league in strikeouts. And you want to talk about a reliable guy that you saw in the offseason? Chris Bassett now has 27 scoreless innings in a row. And he's only given up 10 hits over those 27 innings. This is a guy that throws 8 pitches. He's calling his own game, and he's calling a great game for himself. And he threw over 100 pitches last night against the Yankees lineup and went 0-0. So,
well, you were not a fan of him originally, if I remember correctly, right?
Oh no, I wasn't not a fan. I just didn't know enough about him. And his first game, he got lit up for 3 home runs in the first inning. So for a fan to see your new pitcher that you signed for a decent amount of money give up 3 home runs in the first inning against a St. Louis team who is like awful. I don't know if you see what's going on with St. Louis, but they are brutal.
Well, yeah.
But no, he seems like a calm presence, and even that he's ramping his fastball up to like 95 now, which is extremely impressive for him. Just the baseball games are quicker, which I've noticed since the pitch clock. I feel like I'm more in tuned to games. Like I feel like without even noticing that I've noticed that to myself, like that I'm watching and I'm like, wow, this game went by faster. I'm way more engaged than like having to wait 5 hours sometimes for a baseball game. So,
I mean, if I was going to a game, I'd only have to put on sunscreen about 8 times instead of 10. So it's awesome.
Only once an inning, eh?
Yeah.
But other than that, we'll come back to baseball after a little bit more time's gone by. But just a couple more other sports we want to touch on before we go. PGA Championship did start today.
And for anybody that feels bad about some of their drives, I don't know if you saw, but Bryson DeChambeau put it off of another golfer's head on the tee block of the next hole. So you can always look to that and say it could be worse. You could have been filmed at the PGA Championship doing it.
Could have been, yeah. Or you could have been Sean in high school at the golf meet at Thames. That was probably the best thing that ever happened ever. I'll probably tell Sean to watch this just so he can see it. But, I remember, never forget, we're playing a good school. We were a pure District 5 misfit golf team. Just patched together with a bunch of guys other than Richard and Sean. Really nobody else golfed regularly at all. And so we had a lot of expectations for Sean, and me and Sean had played the Thames 18 a million times at that point. And I'm talking the guy up on the tee blocks. I'm like, yeah, this is our best guy. He usually does good on this hole. And Sean hits his drive. The fucking driver goes completely under the ball, and the ball goes directly up in the air and lands behind him on the tee block.
Wow.
Popping him up. It was one of the funniest moments ever.
Wow.
But so that was kind of like a Bryson.
So it really could be worse.
Yeah, no, it was pretty bad. So especially after I was pumping him up, but it was still a fun season. If you look up the yearbook, the golf team looks hilarious. But we'll talk about defending champion Justin Thomas, and Justin Thomas really not off to a good start, +2. Phil Mickelson was the defending champion before that, so good to see him back. We're starting to get over this live stuff a lot. We're getting a lot of these guys in the major championships, which is great. But what I did hear about this course is the course is extremely tight, and if you don't hit a good drive off the tee, you're going to be in big trouble, and you're not going to be able to recover the same way you normally would. And you better be able to hit it 300 yards and hit it straight.
I was watching some practice rounds from earlier in the week. It was like a Monday or a Tuesday, and they were hitting it from about 90 yards to 120 yards into the greens, just to kind of see what the firmness of the greens. This is on a Monday or Tuesday, so they're only going to get harder as the week goes on. Yep. But these things were rolling 40, 50 yards. Like, they were not stopping at all. So it's kind of the U.S. Open style in the sense. Like, when I think of U.S. Open, I just think of the hardest greens in the entire year. They're going to be the U.S. Open.
It is very U.S. Open as well, yeah, because I think it's really close to Rochester. It's at Oak Hill. So these, very similar, like you said, set up to a U.S. Open type of tournament. If you hit it in the rough, apparently it's going to be really, really hard to get out of it.
I just got an update that the Wayne Gretzky is somehow ripping on the Maple Leafs, so that's exciting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Must be still mad about that hat trick in Game 7 in '93.
Or I think it's just because BX had brought up him high sticking a Maple Leaf and getting away with it.
Yeah. But shout out Corey Connors, our Canadian boy. He is at -3 on the leaderboard, second place after day one. Bryson is in first place. We never.
He's third.
Is he third?
Yeah, he's third. I was just checking it. Oh no, second now. So he's second.
Oh, okay.
He's tied for second. It's him, Adam, Scott, and Dustin tied for second, right?
Oh, okay. Oh, it changed since I checked. Okay, so yeah.
Scotty Scheffler's in fifth.
Who is this guy? Eric. I was just going to say, who's this Eric Cole? I was going to joke around about the hockey player that played for Montreal, and his name's actually Eric Cole.
Yep. PXG's Eric Cole.
Well, Dustin Johnson, a live guy, at -4. Scotty Scheffler -3. John Rahm had a really tough round, defending U.S. champion at +6. Roy was at +1 last time I checked. I don't know if that's changed. But anytime it's major, we're definitely going to be locked in. I'm never as locked in as when Tiger's not playing, but we do our best to stay engaged with the golf while Tiger's not there.
I'm watching a lot of funny little videos about Tiger too, and there's one where he's talking with Scotty Scheffler, and Scheffler's like, "What's up with you not taking divots?" And he goes, "It was so funny because he makes this noise like, huh?" Like it was a Yoda noise, and this video was making fun of Tiger's funny noises and how everybody loves it and everything. But Tiger, just interesting is that Tiger said that when he is in the zone and when he is hitting the ball well, he doesn't take divots. It's just not a thing he's ever done, which I think is very interesting because he's known as one of the better ball strikers. He's obviously very, very good.
Well, it's funny you mention that because I do remember a time when him and Phil didn't used to get along, and there used to be a bit of a banter between that he used to say, "Where's your divot? Where's your divot?" Mm-hmm. Because we know that Phil Mickelson takes beaver pelts. So
that guy's it's hunting season all the time for Phil Mickelson. Yeah.
So
you should have seen, buddy. I played a golf tournament last Friday for my high school reunion. Fun as hell. It was amazing, by the way. But you should have seen the divot that one of our boys took. This thing was like, I'm talking, it was a foot by a foot. Like it was huge, man.
Jeez, yeah. That's awesome. Well, I know from experience myself that I don't need to have a divot to hit a great shot. Mm-mm. Like if you're going for English on the ball and you're going for like mad backspin and stuff like that, then yeah, you're gonna have to hit a divot because if you just hit it clean, it's not. But if you hit a clean shot and you're not going for backspin and stuff, then you could easily still do that without. But to each their own. That's the thing about golf. There's so many different ways to do it. It
took me many years, Rick, but I think that I finally have learned swing your swing. Stop trying to be what everybody else is telling you to do and just swing your swing. All right?
Well, exactly. And that's the worst part. Any of those golfers listening, like anybody that tries to tell you to adjust your swing mid-round, tell them to fuck off.
That's right. and tell them if they're not 10 under, then stop talking to me, okay?
Well, and not even just that. It's just like, just because it works for you doesn't mean it's going to work for me.
Mm-hmm. And we got different bodies, you and I.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Definitely, clearly. And I got the golf shoot on. We got the shooter.
Shooter.
Hey, listen,
you can have the shooter McGavin, and I'll have the Happy Gilmore and Chubbs.
That's perfect. Chubbs and Happy. We got shooter in the house. Couldn't ask me. Look at that. Perfect example. Look at the swing difference between Chubbs, shooter, and Happy Gilmore.
Find your happy place. All right, we got we got like 2 more minutes here. You can try and pound out some of your UFC stuff, okay?
2 more minutes. We'll cover these upcoming fights that just came out. So we got a big fight coming up. Sterling took care of Triple C and Cejudo in his comeback. He called out Sean O'Malley right away. It was fantastic. A great encounter. They've already set it up. So that is happening this summer. O'Malley and Sterling, which is great.
And I got to be honest, I am always going to be in O'Malley's corner. I got a buddy, Dan Garner. I'm going to throw his name out here right now. He's been mentioned on Joe Rogan. This guy is like the epitome of nutrition and gut biology or gut science when it comes to nutrition and athletics science and stuff. So this guy works hand in hand with O'Malley. I know he's going to have him ready for the fight. So regardless of what O'Malley says or does, I am always in this man's corner because of my boy Dan.
Oh, for sure. I just don't like the way O'Malley carries himself myself, but I don't really like the way Aljamain Sterling carries himself either. So I think it's going to be a great fight.
So if somebody brought a chair to the fight, you'd enjoy it even more then?
Oh, exactly.
I just want to see deformed faces. I don't like these guys either. Let's just fight each other. Just hit each other as hard as you can.
Sledgehammer, maybe. Who knows? But, another big fight. We got a rematch in Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje, which is fantastic. These guys fought against each other in 2018, and Poirier TKO'd Gaethje, and Gaethje went on a run after that. So, I like it. These are 2 guys that I don't know if it's a title shot fight, but it's a legacy fight.
Yeah.
At this point between those 2 guys, so I love that. We got Volkanovski against Jan Rodriguez, which is going to be amazing. It's going to be the first fight in South Wales, so in Sydney. Because they had not had the rights to do an MMA event in Sydney, Australia before this. So first time, and it's going to that's where Volkanovski's from, obviously. So it's going to be great on that aspect of things as well. We have Pereira is going to be going up against Jan Blachowicz. So after he lost his rematch to Adesanya, he moved up weight classes. And he's going to be fighting Jan Blachowicz, which is going to be an amazing fight as well. So we got to be watching out for that. And as well, we got Ngannou signing with PFL.
Oh, wow.
So, just what a disappointment.
Wow.
Obviously, you kind of lost hope that he was going to sign with UFC, but, now it's official. He's actually signed with PFL, which just sucks because who the hell is he going to fight in PFL?
Well, I think he's at this point just chasing wins then for his career.
Well, I don't even think he's chasing wins, he's chasing money because he got offered the most lucrative contract in MMA history. Apparently, they have not released the numbers yet on it. But what I do know, just to give you an idea. So, in the last John Jones fight, he'd be lucky to make $2 million on that fight. Okay, from the UFC. What I've heard is that Ngannou is fighting in PFL in the super fight division, and that guarantees that the fighters get 50% of pay-per-view revenue, and they immediately the challenger to Ngannou makes $2 million minimum.
Wow.
So if the challenger's making $2 million, I can't even imagine what Ngannou's making. So that's why he's got paid there. So it really sucks. But I did have a dream the other night that Brock Lesnar came back and he fought John Jones after John Jones kicked Stipe Miocic's ass. So hopefully we have a Brock Lesnar-John Jones fight to look forward to for a retirement fight for both of them. It would be absolutely fantastic. And, that's about it. That's what I got for today.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, listen, before we get out of here, I have been on this camera with you hundreds of times. And, I have looked over your shoulder a few times. And what is that cartoon book or comic book there to your left right now? The one on the far left. You know what it looks like to me? It looks like Kramer in a trench coat in the alley. What is that?
So it's funny you asked that because bring Jen on for this one. Jen can explain because Jen knows these are Jen's pictures. So I'll let Jen explain.
Hey, Jen.
Okay. So what these are, this is an artist who has taken classic movies. So this is supposed to be Hellboy starring...
Oh, Hellboy. Okay.
It's Hellboy, but starring old-time movie stars. So this is Humphrey Bogart.
Oh, okay.
Hellboy, and Peter Lorre as Abe. And then we've got, William Powell as Doctor Strange with Carol Lombard as the girl in it. And then Clark Gable as Iron Man with Ingrid Bergman playing Pepper Potts and Bill Bojangles Robinson playing
Bojangles
Robinson. So this guy has reimagined classic Marvel stories with old black and white actors.
I love it. Well, it was
when I first moved in with her and I saw those, I thought these were real movies.
Oh,
I'm like, oh my God! I'm like, so this is where they come from. I get it now. But it's funny you should ask. But Kramer, he thought it was Kramer and Al.
No, seriously, from here it looks like it's a Kramer that's looking down the alley like in a Seinfeld episode. It was one of those where I've thought this for a long time, and it's one of those I didn't. Okay, it definitely doesn't look like Kramer from far away. See, from back there, the head all blurs together in one black image. Looks like Kramer's big old fuzzy hair, right? So I was one of those I didn't want to ask and ruin the image that I had, but eventually I knew I had to figure out what was going on behind you. So
Kramer went up for you next week.
Yeah.
There we go, another new one. Yeah, little I Spy. Well, Rick, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure talking. We covered a lot of sports today. I am looking forward to getting more into baseball as the season drags on here. And yes, it would be nice to see a Celtics and Lakers final. So we'll both vie for that. Okay, my man. All right, you have yourself a wonderful rest of your evening, and hopefully you get a